the new marketing for your small business podcast. Delivering the latest opportunities in marketing to help your small business grow and prosper in a digital world.
Hello, and welcome to the new marketing for your small business podcast. Today's episode is going to be a little bit different than normal. We'll get to that in a minute. But this is the podcast where we try to keep you up to date on what's going on with social media marketing, digital marketing, anything that can help you or your small business. Let's introduce ourselves first. I'm Luke Porter with Moving Tree Media.
Hi, everybody, and I am William Schultz with Vivid Concepts Media.
And William, what are we doing in today's show?
All right, so as Luke said, we're going to do something a little different today. So, we were talking off camera after our last podcast episode. Luke said, I have an idea, could we talk about my toy business? Because Luke actually has a toy business as well as a media business. And, he felt like, hey, I want to share my experience because this is going to bring some good value to our audience. And I thought that was a fantastic idea. So we agreed, let's do a show about Luke's toy business and talk about some of the failures and successes that he had with his marketing, right? And so we can share real life experiences through his personal business, through his personal experiences to the audience here. So what we're going to do is we're going to kind of run down a list of things that Luke went through in chronological order. And what's really cool is you're going to see how the life of this business has played out. And I think Luke would agree, and a lot of you business owners listening would agree, a business is a life. It becomes its own living organism. It's a living, breathing thing that's constantly growing and evolving. So it'll be really fun to go through the different evolutions of stages of his business in terms of marketing. So we're going to jump in right now, and let's start off let's talk about the business itself. Luke, maybe you could tell everybody what's the name of the business, how it got started and when it got started.
Yeah. So there is a line of collectibles. They're called Minimates. For those of you watching on video, they're these little action figures, about 2 inches tall, from different licenses like Marvel, Walking Dead, Ghostbusters, all these pop culture things. I was a fan of this line and a collector of this line. And one thing that I would do is start painting different characters, coming up with my own characters, making characters that hadn't been made yet. People would buy and sell those from me. So through that customizing work, I became a member of the Minimate community, a strong online presence. This was back around 2005, 2006. And then it was mostly through message boards. We didn't have Facebook groups like we do now. We didn't have all these other ways for communities to get together online. It was all message boards. So I was a member of this community online. And then when my wife and I were pregnant with our second child, we wanted something that she could do from home for a while. And I thought, well, hey, I'm already in with this toy line. I love this toy line. Let's just start a side business where we sell these toys, get them from the company, from the manufacturer, and make this great experience for people online that's better than whatever else is out there. So this was in July 2009. We opened Luke's Toy Store, lukestoystore.com. My wife and I and our 2 kids have run the business ever since then. This is our 14th anniversary.
Congratulations on that, man. That's pretty cool.
Thanks.
How about, how does the business function now? Maybe we'll give an overview of how does the business function now in terms of how do you sell product? Where's the product sold? What kind of clients do you have? And what part of the world are they in?
So we have clients from all over the world. The business is definitely still a side business. I have my main Moving Tree Media, digital marketing, video business. My wife is a full-time nurse. Our boys help out with the toy store, but they are both working jobs now too. So it's definitely a side gig, but it's really special and really important to us. We're still getting these figures from the manufacturer, but we also make a lot of exclusive items just for our store. And that plays into the marketing as well. How do you attract new customers? How do you keep your existing customers coming back over and over again? So, I'm wearing a t-shirt right now. This is part of one of the things we do every year. We have a Luke crate. It's a mystery crate full of different items. You get a t-shirt, you get a little diorama and display for your figures. You get some accessories. That's one of those things we do that's just exclusive to our store.
That's cool, man. And just for the record, audience, I have requested a size 1X T-shirt from Luke. So we're going to hold him accountable here in the next couple episodes for that. So let's talk about this. I know whenever I've started a business, and I'm sure when you started a business, you have an idea in your mind, and I know our audience has too. Of how you're going to market this business. And this marketing is going to be the greatest thing in the world. And you're going to make millions of dollars because everybody's going to love everything, right? That's kind of how we us entrepreneurs think, right? We know that they're going to love our product. So when you first started your business and you thought about how you're going to market this business, how did you go about that? What were the first things that popped in your mind and what did you start executing right away?
Definitely the community aspect was really important to me. So a strong push on the message boards that I was involved in. And that worked great because these people had been with me over the years, making my own customs, taking, Minimate photos. So they were on board. But the other things was more like, what are these other toy sellers doing online? What are these small mom and pop toy shops doing for their marketing? Well, they were running banner ads and they were running Google ads. So I'm like, oh, I should do that. So I spent the money, spent a couple $100, bought banner ads on some different toy news websites, tried different Google AdWord headings, different descriptions, played around with different combinations of what would work on Google AdWords. And for those, I'm sure everyone knows, but in case you don't know, those are the ads that at the time were only on the sidebar of Google. Now you get them mixed in with the search results. They show up on top. But back in this day, it was only on the side. And honestly, that was hundreds of dollars wasted.
Why?
We got
Why was
no
that
new
wasted?
customers from it.
But why do you think it didn't work? Because Google AdWords has worked historically for many businesses, especially back in this time period. If we're talking about, the early 2010s, why didn't it work? What was the reason for that, you think?
From my understanding, Google AdWords and banner ads were amazing in 2005, 2006, 2007. By the time 2009, 2010 rolled around, people had been trained to kind of ignore them. They actually did scientific studies where they would track people's eye movements, and they would see that they literally would not even see the ads. They were invisible to our brains. And I didn't know that when I invested this money into them. And, it's funny, I still see all these banner ads running on these same toy news sites today. So maybe it's working for someone. For us, it absolutely did not work. But I think part of it, and this might be a recurring theme here, is who is your actual audience? And our toy line, these Minimates, are a very niche item. They're not one of the most popular toy lines in the world. They are more of a specialized toy item. So I think with these toy news websites, we were casting such a wide net, trying to hit just every toy collector on the planet, when those are not necessarily our audience. I think that's part of the reason why those types of marketing weren't successful.
So for the audience out there listening, a couple of things come to mind here. One is when you start your business, you have this idea of what's going to work. And quite honestly, you don't know if it's going to work. You have to try it, right? But number two, sometimes we see things that are working now, but they might not be working later, right? Or they might not work for your business. But you won't know that unless you try it. So I think the important thing here is a couple of things. Again, if you see a technology or a certain kind of digital marketing that's working or has worked in the past, it doesn't guarantee that it's going to work right now or work for your audience. I think an example of that might be like a TikTok ad. You're seeing a lot more ads on TikTok now. And that might be the thing now, but will that be the thing next year or 2 years from now? That's the one thing about new marketing for your small business is things are constantly changing and evolving. And so you want to be aware of that as you go into your strategies. The other thing on your list I see is coupons. So let's talk about that. How do coupons work?
I mean, that was one of the things where it's like, how do we get new customers? We loved our existing customers, part of the community, love them to death, but how can we get some new customers on board? And one of the things we tried was coupons. If you put great coupons out there, submit it to the coupon websites, that'll bring people in, right? Did not work at all. Our existing customers were able to make good use of them. And, for a small business, if anyone out there has a retail business, coupons, if they're not bringing in new business, they're actually losing you money. So we were losing money on coupons for a couple of years there. So we had to give that up. part of the challenge for us over the years is not so much how do we retain our existing customers, because we do a good job with that. We take care of them. But how do we get those new customers? And coupons just were not the way to do it.
Okay, so let's talk about after that, after the coupons and after the Google ads. It looks like you evolved into created a Facebook and YouTube pages. So talk about that. Were you creating, and what I want you to kind of touched on is like, what was your psychology behind creating these pages, and how did you want them to function? And then my third question would be, what were you putting on the YouTube channel? Because clearly YouTube's really video based. So, and maybe for context, could you give us a timestamp around when this started to happen for your business?
We made the Facebook page almost right away. That was almost right after we launched. And that was more like, okay, it just seems like one of those things you just got to do. And it's kind of the same thing now. Even nowadays, Facebook is not the most important platform on its own as far as just business page posts, but just kind of one of those boxes you got to check. So at the time, Facebook did have better organic reach than it does now. We've talked about that in past episodes here, that free reach you don't have to spend money on. So part of my brain was thinking, well, if I make this Facebook page, new customers will come. The algorithm will show my stuff to all these toy collectors, and they will come to us just because we have this Facebook page that we're posting regularly to. And YouTube was kind of the same thing. YouTube had better organic reach than it even does now. And I thought, if I make these types of videos, and at the time it was Minimate reviews, it was customizing projects I was working on, it was just me talking about upcoming sets. If I can make all these great videos, new customers will come. And they didn't. It's funny how much it actually didn't work, because if you go back and look at our YouTube channel from early on, we've got a couple dozen videos on there, and just the hits weren't there. We're only getting like 200-300 views per video. No actual traffic to the store from it, even though we were putting links in the description and telling people to click the links. It was one of those things that we did it. I'm glad we did it, because the Facebook page now has a lot of activity. It's one of our main forms of marketing. So we had to lay that foundation at the time, but it did not bring in the new customers.
Why do you think that was, especially for the YouTube? With YouTube Shorts and YouTube still kind of being kind of a newer thing for a lot of business owners in the video medium in general. Why do you think the YouTube wasn't working for you back then? And quickly, and I don't want to get too deep into it, but do you think that if you revisited that strategy, it could work now?
At the time, I felt like I knew what I had to do. I just had to make good videos. And what I didn't do was put in the time to learn how to do YouTube the right way. So I did not know about how to make a great thumbnail. I didn't know how to title the video to get more views. I was just doing like, Spider-Man versus Dr. Octopus Minimate review, and not realizing that if I put all these other keywords in the title, it would reach new audiences. And if I made a more attractive thumbnail that made people want to click into the video, it would get more traffic. So I didn't spend the 10 hours, which really isn't that long, that it probably wouldn't even taken that long, 6-7 hours of research that I should have put into it on how to do a better job with it. And I think that's why it failed. I think now, if I had the time to put into it, to do it the right way, I could get more traffic. And that is something I probably should do, frankly.
And I think to the audience listening out there, something I always caution my clients, because when people approach me, they'll say, well, what do you think about Snapchat? Or what do you think about TikTok? Or what do you think about Instagram? And the one thing I tell them is, don't try to be everywhere all the time. Just try to find one or two platforms and really master those first, right? And so what Luke is kind of saying is like, I didn't take the time to research and master that platform, and I didn't have the knowledge to just do simple things like adding a thumbnail. I'm not using keywords when people are searching. Clearly, they search YouTube similar to the way they search the internet with keywords. So just something to think about out there, audience, is that you're making sure you're not trying to be everywhere and everything and to everybody, and just try to kind of niche down a little bit and master something before you move on to the next thing. And if you're following with us, you're seeing that the theme here, though, Luke is trying a lot of different things. So he's probably also in this process learning a lot about himself, his business, and its audience. So we move on to, you got your Facebook and your YouTube pages. They're not really, firing on all cylinders, but now you decide to try some Facebook ads, and that failed to attract new customers. Tell us why that was, and tell us what your philosophy was when you're going into creating these Facebook ads.
It's funny because Facebook, even at the time, and now we're probably up to like 2012, 2013. At the time, they had the best advertising platform in the world by far. The targeting that you could do was beyond any other platform. So I would set up these ads. Like, let's say we had a set of Daredevil Minimates coming out. I remember this one really clearly. I set up an ad for people who were action figure collectors and liked Daredevil. That seemed like a sure bet, right? So I spent $100 on this ad. It's going to only show up for people who check both of those boxes, action figure collectors and Daredevil fans. It was a Daredevil 4-pack of Minimates. The ad got like 7,000 views. 7,000 people saw it in their Facebook feeds, and we got 2 sales from it.
Wow.
Only
what is how much would 2
So,
sales net for you guys at that time?
that's probably $16 in profit.
Okay.
So we definitely lost money on it. And we tried similar ads just like that of how do I find this audience? How do I bring in these new customers and this isn't just people who might be Minimate collectors, but buy them from a different store. It's more like, I felt like, how can I raise awareness for the Minimate brand in general? It's not my brand. I don't own it, but if I'm running this store focused on it, it's a good thing for everyone to increase the exposure. So how can I bring all these other toy collectors and show them how cool this brand is? And the Facebook ads just did not do the job. Not only did it not get any sales, but the engagement was really low on those. The comments, the likes, far lower than we were expecting.
Do you think that the Minimates brand is so niche that not all collectors that collect toys or are into Daredevil are going to be into that specific style of collectible or Daredevil toy?
I think that was a huge part of it. And over the years, we've kind of learned to pivot where we can't attract all toy collectors. That's just not going to happen. So it's more about the existing Minimate collectors. How can we pull them into our circle, show them our exclusive stuff, keep them shopping with us, take care of those collectors? And so now when we do Facebook ads, we are not casting that wide net. In fact, almost all the ad spends I do on our Luke's Toy Store account is just reaching our existing audience. Because as we've talked about in the show before, Facebook limits your reach. Not with Facebook Reels, but with your normal Facebook posts, your reach is really limited if you don't spend money on it. So we have, I think, 2,500 followers on our Facebook page. If we don't boost a post, only about 300 of those 2,500 see it. So when we have something we really want people to see, then we'll spend the $20-$30 to make sure that all 2,500 of our fans see that post.
I'm guessing too that, when you go into an ad set, you can also retarget to the friends of their friends and all those kind of different options and stuff like that. So you're really, again, niching down. And I think there's some debate. I've seen a guy on TikTok recently talk about, you don't need to niche down. And I think it really comes down to your industry. And when you're talking about something like this, that's a very specific thing. Like Luke said earlier, it's not the most known or most coveted toy brand on the market or style of toy on the market now. But I'm going to venture to say it probably has an extremely loyal base, though. So if you can tap into that, you're probably going to have your piece cut out of that market. So one of the other things you tried after that is Twitter. I know neither one of us are big Twitter buffs, but just talk maybe a quick little overview of how that worked.
The thing with Twitter is you have to put so much time into it because it's not just your post. If you just go out, throw posts out there, do nothing else with it, you're going to have zero success on Twitter. All the success comes with having conversations with other people. It was true then. It's still true now. So we didn't have the time to invest to be always commenting on people's stuff, trying to bring them into our fold, into our circle. And just without that time commitment on Twitter, it ended up not being worth our time to even post on there anymore because we were getting no traffic from it, even though we had followers and even though we were putting out good content.
So, listen, guys, now let's talk about this. We've just heard failure after failure after failure after failure. At this point in time, Luke should probably say, this isn't going to work. I should quit. Why am I doing this? This is a waste of time. This is a waste of money. And I know most business owners and entrepreneurs out there know what that feels like. But, you got to keep pushing. You got to keep going. And so what we find out as I'm looking through Luke's list is all of a sudden he tries something and now we start to see a little bit of success. So talk about when you started to create exclusive items to draw in new customers. Why was that successful? How was that successful?
At the time, before we made our first big exclusive purchase, we were probably the number 5 Minimate retailer in the world. There were other stores out there that sold a lot of Minimates, but they also sold all these other action figure lines, Transformers and Marvel Legends and Lego. And we knew that those sales were a lot higher than ours. So we wanted to at least bring in those Minimate customers. So we invested $30,000 into an exclusive set. It was a Spider-Man 4-pack, only for our store, the full run, straight from the manufacturer, exclusive to us. And that was a huge gamble for us, just a little small mom and pop company. It was a huge risk. We had to have some family members help with the investing. And it kind of paid off. We got a lot of new customers from it. That was great. We did not sell the entire run of it. It was just too many. But the manufacturer bought back our remaining stock and sold them to other stores about a year after we got the exclusive. So we kind of had this great 1-year run where we brought in all these new customers, sold off our stock, didn't lose any money on it for sure. And that kind of made us realize, okay, there is something behind this of these exclusive products, these exclusive services. And that could apply to other businesses out there as well, I'm sure. And now what we do instead of these huge investments is it's more items that we create, that we've been in contact with a factory in China for the last couple of years that make exclusive products for us that aren't under the Minimate brand, because we don't own that, but it's products that complement that. And I think that's another way for small businesses out there to make the most of their current customer base, keep them loyal, keep them happy, and keep them excited about what you do, is making these adjacent products that complement the other things you do.
So, Luke, when you're talking about this kind of exclusive offer, these exclusive items, how were you marketing this, and where were you marketing it to? Or what was your marketing strategy with that?
For the big exclusive items, we did have some success with sending out press releases to the big toy news websites. We also started to tap into influencer marketing. I think even before it was called influencer marketing, where we knew these toy reviewers on YouTube and blogs, and we would send them a free set to review. Yeah. And then their audience would be able to see that, hey, that's exclusive just for us. And that directed a lot of traffic to our store.
Okay. And so we're moving down the line here, and you have another success where you talk about you removed pain points for international customers and customizers. So talk about what that was. Why was that important? And how did you come across this idea that this was something you had to do?
It's always been me and Heidi's goal from the beginning, is to make a better store for Minimates, a better experience. For international customers, shipping is a fortune. For the same Minimate that I can ship to someone here in the United States for $4, it might cost $20 for someone in Germany or Australia or Brazil to get that figure. And then the bigger the package, the more expensive it gets, where you're talking $60, $70 to send a big shipment. One of the things we realized that we could cut those costs down for our international customers is to take the figures out of their packaging. So the figures come in this big, fancy, colorful, beautiful cardboard packaging. But if we just pull the figures out and put them in little plastic bags in a thin little bubble mailer, suddenly those international customers are paying half the shipping that they used to be paying. So that was one of the things we did. And then as far as customizing goes, I mean, that's how I got started in this whole thing, was customizing my own figures. This particular toy line is very well suited for people to make their own characters. So we kind of lean into that and say, okay, how can we encourage more people to customize? We held customizing contests. We made special stickers in our store just for putting new faces on these figures. And then we were the first store, and I still believe the only store out there, who sells the individual parts, where you don't have to buy a pack of 4 Spider-Man figures if you just need a pair of red feet for a custom. We will sell you just the 2 red feet to make your own custom who has red shoes on. That's part of the way that we try to keep customers coming to our store, is because they know they can't get these things anywhere else.
So as we move along, we see that you have another success. So now we're going on our 3rd success story in the row, guys. So listen, failure, 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 failure. Now success, success, success. There's a pattern there. And I think most business owners and entrepreneurs can get with that, can understand that, hey, there's going to have to be some pain before you're going to have some prosperity here. So now we're getting into this part where you create a Facebook group. And then you also start to create a Instagram community. So maybe talk about those kind of simultaneously, like what was the thought process about creating this group? And then also, how did you create a community on Instagram?
So I mentioned at the beginning, message boards were really important to us. That was where the whole Minimate community started, was message boards. But around 2014, people were getting away from message boards. The traffic was a lot lower, far less posts, more people were using Facebook groups. And it just so happened that the main Minimate message board went down due to a server error for a couple days. So me and the other administrators were like, well, maybe this is the time to make a Facebook group and start moving our whole audience to Facebook. And that way increased the engagement, the outreach. People were posting photos, putting stuff up for sale. People were commenting on other people's stuff way more than we had been seeing on the message board. So just making it easier for people to talk about your products was a huge bonus for us. And then in the same line, Instagram was becoming more and more popular, and all these amazing photographers. I mean, I should show you some of these photos later. You would not even believe the incredible photos that people can take with these toys. So we have this community on message boards. We have this community on Facebook. How can I help that community grow on Instagram? So one of the things we did was every single week, I picked the Minimate photo of the week. I said, okay, I'll look at all these Minimate, they're tagged with the hashtag Minimates. That was a great tool back then. We talked in our last episode about how that's not as relevant anymore, but I picked the best Minimate photo of the week, and I share it, and I tag the person. That person feels great because their photo was featured. Everyone else gets to see a cool photo. They follow that person. These photos get shared around, and soon people are sending me DMs. Hey, how can I be considered for Minimate photo of the week? What do I got to do? And I'm getting new customers that way because people are sharing these Minimate photo of the week photos. So I'm getting Lego customers suddenly interested in Minimates. So that was how we built up that Instagram community.
And so why was that important to your business, to grow a community? And why did that work better than previous failures where you were running Facebook ads and doing coupons? Talk about why it was important for your specific business for there to be a community and for there to be a Facebook group.
Well, you and I are big fans of Gary Vaynerchuk, Gary V. And about this same time, he gave a keynote speech and he talked about the difference between a wide audience and a deep audience. We had been trying for too long to get a wide audience, an audience that was big, but didn't really care about you. And having a community that was deep, having a deep audience that was small, but cared very much was more important to us because those were the people that we could count on to pre-order our products. Those are the people that would be our biggest fans, our biggest cheerleaders. So that all happens through community. You can't really build that any other way. You got to do it one person at a time. That's another thing Gary Vee talks about. One customer at a time, old school. And that is what ended up working the best for us. That's when we finally started to find more success.
So as we're going down this list here again, we see You've had a couple successes now. You created an exclusive item that drew in some new customers. You removed some pain points with international customers. You created a Facebook group that that was kind of your industry's transition from message boards to like a Facebook group where it's more interactive. And then you created this Instagram community around hashtags and photos of the day. So we've evolved. We're growing. We're learning more about our business. And then I'm going down this list. I'm really excited. And then I see, we tried Instagram influencers and that was a failure. So talk about that. Why didn't the Instagram influencers work? And what was your thought process going into it as to why it would work?
That was another one of those things where we were trying to get too wide of an audience again, where we started to see a few Lego fans get interested in Minimates. And I thought, okay, there's an opportunity here. Legos and Minimates are kind of similar. If I reach out to the Lego community, maybe we can pull in some new customers. So I sent dozens of Minimate sets for free to all these Lego influencers and had them review the sets or post pictures with the sets with other Legos. And it brought in almost no new customers. It was worth trying. I think it was an experiment worth doing. I think influencer marketing is a great tool for a lot of businesses, but our specific products, I guess, were so niche and so specialized that even though they're similar to Legos, it just didn't capture that audience.
Yeah, and I think that I like what you said that it was still a good idea, and we're not saying don't try influencers at all. I would probably say, I bet looking back on it, you had to either cultivate a Minimates influencer or a group of influencers, or become one yourself, right? A Minimates influencer, or tap into somebody who was already a Minimates influencer and hope to get new clients from that person, that are people that are already vested in Minimates.
Yeah, and we'd done such a good job with the community building that all of the big Minimate influencers, and if any of you are listening, thank you as always from the bottom of my heart, but they would always send people to us without us prompting them at all, without us paying them. They would just do it naturally because we had done a good job anyway with them.
Yep. Yep. So, again, guys, you guys listening out there, it's okay to try new things, and it's okay to, hey, you might have another failure along a long line of successes, but you're going to learn from those, right? And I always say there really isn't no such thing as failure if you learn something from it. The only way you truly fail is if you don't learn. And so I think as we're going through this journey with Luke right now, we're going through this timeline, we're seeing that, you're going to be cruising along. You might hit another speed bump. But as we look here on this list, so right after the failed influencer campaign, he tries to be the first to break any new news on Minimates. And that's going to put you in the position to where you're a thought leader. So maybe touch real quickly on, what it's like to be a thought leader in the space and how other owners out there could become a thought leaders in their niche spaces.
One of the things with that is it's always been hard for me to give up control of any part of my business because one of those people that likes to control it all. But when it came to wanting to have the finger on the pulse of any new Minimate news immediately, so we were the first to post about it on Facebook or Instagram, is we actually had a fan, a Minimate collector, who we reimbursed to stay on top of the news for us because my wife and I were busy with our other jobs. So the moment any news would break, he would text me immediately or send me photos immediately so I can get them posted within minutes. And just spending that little bit of money for something that wasn't really an option for me with my schedule was amazing for us. And breaking the Minimate news as it happened with new reveals or new sets, those have always been some of our highest performing posts. So the investment was well worth it. And it actually helped convince me to let go of certain parts of my business here and there and offload those to someone else who could do a really good job.
And so, as we go through that, we come to a part where you realize that, hey, maybe we should include a free item with almost every order. So talk about why did you decide to do that and why it was successful?
Man, that's another Gary Vaynerchuk thing. He talked about surprise and delighting your customers. He used the example of someone for his wine business. He bought them a a jersey. I think a Jets jersey framed for them to put in their office. And I'm like, okay, well, I can't get my customers a framed Jets jersey, but I have thousands of Minimate parts. So let's give every customer a free accessory with every single order. Now it's not all the time. If we're in a hurry, sometimes we forget. So my apologies if anyone out there listening got an order without one, but we try to put in a free item with every single order, and we package them in a little black bag that you can't see through with a sticker on it that said, thanks for your business. Here's something free for you. So they don't even know what it is right away. So it's already a surprise that they got something free, but then they can't see what it is till they open this little black bag. So that adds that little extra bit of surprise to it. So I think other businesses obviously can't copy that same idea, but finding ways to surprise and delight your customers does pay off. And we've gotten a lot of comments over the years about how much people love that.
And let's talk about this final thing we have on here on your list. And I'm going to guess this is one of the more recent things. You developed an annual calendar of events to help customers know what's upcoming. So let me ask you this. How do you get this out to the community, and what has the benefit been directly to your bottom line?
A lot of it has come from, we got so many messages asking, hey, look, when's the next sale? When's the next mystery crate coming out? And on the other side of it, people wanting to be prepared for the financial investments. Like, hey, Luke has this set of custom Minimates coming out next month. It's going to be $100. I would like to know that in advance so I can save up for that set. So we started putting out, usually at the beginning of the year, a bigger calendar that shows approximately when things will be. We don't have the exact dates nailed down yet, but month to month now. Just recently, I put one on Facebook and Instagram just showing, hey, these are the dates that these things are going to be happening, so you guys are prepared. And we got so many messages of people thanking us because they like to know, they like to be ready. We have people, a lot of our releases happen at noon on a Friday. So people who work a day job, they got to be prepared at noon on a Friday to drop what they're doing and head to our store, because sometimes things sell out in the first hour. So we have people planning their lunch breaks around this, planning their day around this. So it's just one of those things that not only is it good for our business, but it's just a kind thing to do for our customers.
As we go through this list, you guys, I think the most important thing, and Luke noted this in the list, is just trying to stay positive. It's really important to stay positive, stay focused, keep moving forward, and having a lot of resolve, with your business, and really having faith in what you're doing and what your business is about. And I think as we hear Luke talk, and we what we can understand from an audience standpoint is he really understands his market, and he understands his business, and he understands Minimates. I think that's what's really important. Like, not only does he understand it, it's something he loves, it's something he's invested in, it's something that he cares about. And I think that reverberates through the rest of his business and his ideas and his marketing. So for you guys listening out there, I think it's important that if you're going to start a business, and you're in a business now, make sure you really truly care about it and care about what you're doing, because I think it's going to pay dividends with your resolve going through the ups and downs. But also, I think your clients will feel that energy as well. So as we kind of get into the home stretch here, Luke, talk about what are some of the things your business is doing now in the marketing space. What are some things you're trying out, and are they working? What are the early results on some of this stuff?
Well, you and I have talked a lot in episodes here about Reels and short vertical videos, the big four platforms: YouTube Shorts, Instagram Reels, Facebook Reels, TikTok. So I've been experimenting with that for the toy store, because not only is it get that great organic reach, but like you mentioned last time we met, is the algorithms now listen to the words you're saying, and they use your actual language to find out who to push these videos to. So we have these Minimate sets from properties like Dungeons and Dragons and G.I. Joe and Transformers. And the algorithm, what we're finding, is showing it to these other toy collectors, the ones we've been trying to reach for years. And it's different this time because they're not out there searching for it. They're not out there searching YouTube for these things. It's being handed to them. It's being brought to them because it's interest-based. It's not based on who you follow. It's not based on who your friends are. It's based on what you're interested in. So now if someone is interested in the old Dungeons and Dragons cartoon from the 80s, the algorithm knows that, and it shows them our Dungeons and Dragons reels where they probably would have never seen that with the way we were releasing things 10 years ago. I'm still nailing down the exact cadence and editing style for what works best on TikTok. It's different than traditional video editing, we're finding. And I haven't quite got that nailed down yet, to be honest, with the toy store. It's something I'm actively working on and experimenting with, and it's a fun process. And I'm taking what I've learned through all those experiments and applying them to my Moving Tree Media clients.
And so, look, as we wrap this up and we get into projects that we're working on, Luke, how would you want to wrap up and put a bow on your experience running Luke's toy business, and talk about as an overview, what would you like our audience to come away with from this story you shared with us today?
I would say keep experimenting, keep trying new things, but at the same time, when you find something that works, don't only stick with that forever, because message boards were the thing that worked for us in the beginning. And if we had only stuck with message boards, if we had never tried any of these other things I mentioned, we probably wouldn't be in business anymore. Even though we still love our message board fans, you got to keep trying new things, and you got to not let yourself get discouraged about it. You talked about staying positive. And not only do we try to stay positive for all these things we're trying, that, hey, if this doesn't work, it was worth trying. But the Minimates industry has had its ups and downs, just like any industry, and weathering those storms and staying positive on behalf of our customers has also been important, because there's been times where it could have been really easy to say, yeah, everything just sucks right now. They're not releasing any new product. They're not releasing the kind of stuff I want. I'm mad. Minimates suck. I'm out of here. Versus us staying positive and letting people know there's good stuff around the corner, letting people know we are working on custom stuff that's exciting. So not to give up on the brand. And I think that positivity can apply to almost any business. Like if you are you're in real estate. If you are a real estate agent, if the market's down, if mortgage rates are high, maybe it's not a great buyer's market. Maybe it's a good seller's market for certain reasons. So just be able to put a positive spin on it. I think that the world needs positivity right now.
Absolutely. And you're right, because that's how the market is right now. And it's bad for buyers. I shouldn't say it's bad, but it's more challenging for buyers and sellers than it's been in recent years. But that doesn't mean you just stop. You have to persevere. You have to keep going. You have to find the positive outlooks on things, because there is positivity in everything. So thanks for sharing that story, Luke. And as we do every week, we like to wrap up our episode with a project that we're currently working on. So Luke, why don't you tell us something tell us about a project that you got in the cooker right now?
I had a really challenging drone shoot this week. I've mentioned before, one of my clients is a construction company, and I drove down to the middle of nowhere in Iowa for a one-day drone shoot. It was inside of this big concrete building. They're making this special equipment to burn hay bales to make steam to power a generator. And they were pouring these big concrete structures. So there were 2 cement trucks. There were these big, weird cement pumping cranes. There was these lifts. And I only had about 10 feet of clearance between the ceiling and the top of this equipment. And I also had to fly in between these different pieces of equipment and in these really tight spaces. It was probably the most difficult drone shoot I've ever done. But man, it was so much fun. I loved every minute of it. I love those challenges. It's probably the best drone footage I've ever gotten, just because of how challenging it was and flying through these tight spaces. And I'm just super excited to edit it.
Sweet, man. And as somebody who's flown drones, a 10-foot clearance is not fun, right? Because anything can go wrong. The drone can get a little gusty or whatever. Anything can happen, a twitch of the thumb, and there goes your drone. And then what's even worse is your drone's gone during a shoot that's in the middle of nowhere in Iowa, right? There's really no way to can't go buy another drone. There's no way to fix that. So that's pretty cool, man. And Myself, I'm working something that was cool that I'm working on is one of my newest clients is my girlfriend. In fact, my girlfriend owns an American family insurance agency, and one of the things that's kind of funny is she's been just begging me to get a dog. She wants us to get a dog, which I'm really opposed to. So one of her employees, team members, he has a little mini poodle named Apollo, and she's every day she sends me pictures of this dang dog, right? Like every day trying to sell me on the fact that she wants a dog. But so what I've done for her content is I've taken that and I've incorporated that into her content. And now I've been using Apollo as a meme. So one of them, she sent me a picture of Apollo on her desk. And I think I made a meme that said, when we put our work dog, our office dog to work. And then it's like the dog has a chat bubble saying, can I give you a quote? Give me a call, right? So, it's kind of fun to work with your girlfriend and for one and try to grow her business and grow her footprint on social media, but it's also fun to take personalized experiences and incorporate them into the marketing. So that's been a fun experience. So Luke, why don't you wrap up the show, man? That's all we have for today. Tell them where they can find us. Tell let's wrap this thing up, man.
Yes, this is the New Marketing for Your Small Business podcast. We got the video version on YouTube. We got the audio version, pretty much all the big spots you like to listen to podcasts. And we got a Facebook group. So any of those spots, search for New Marketing for Your Small Business and you'll find us. We just passed 100 downloads of the podcast. So thank you to everyone who downloaded and listened. We appreciate all of you. And thanks for listening.
Thanks, guys.